is what flows in this fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Dope Interviews, brought to you by the mighty 19 Media Group. And I'm your host, Warren Shaw. And in the virtual building today, I have someone who's really the definition of a multi-hyphenate. She's a musician, entrepreneur, host, actress, producer, podcaster, and all-around dope person, if you can see by our YouTube here. It's Keldamuzik. Kelda, what's good? And welcome to Dope Interviews.
Hey, what's up, Warren? Thank you so much for having me. Good to see you.
I appreciate it. So I did my best to introduce you as a multi-hyphenate, but for the people who may not know you, see you on my platform the first time, give me your elevator pitch, right? Who is Keldamuzik today?
Yes, Keldamuzik is a hip-hop recording artist, actress, talk show host, entrepreneur, and now fashionista. Who knows what else is in store next? But yeah, like in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Man. And it's amazing. You know, when I started this platform and others that I've been on, I think it's just storytelling is really interesting to me because I think you meet people for whatever the reason, like however they come into your life or your atmosphere for whatever reason, but you realize like there's so much more to them. Like nobody's any one thing. There's so many stories and so many layers, and you are acting and living and breathing, you know, within that space right now. So I wanted to just give you your flowers in that, you know, first and foremost. You have a platform, I believe, and excuse me if I'm wrong, like Diva Talks, if you will. And Diva has a very interesting connotation depending on who's saying it or who hears it. So, right. So give me your definition of diva and why you identify with that term, so to speak.
Yeah, for me, like I want to change the idea of what a diva is. You know, a diva is someone who's demanding and intelligent, but you know, it's to better herself, right? It's not to put someone else down or belittle someone or you know, become this bully. It's really about, you know, self-love, self-care, empowerment, and also inspiring others to have the same mindset as a diva, you know, a boss, someone who does so much more than the average person, and who's not, bragging about it to the world. You know, just she's behind the scenes and moves silently like a ninja, but has so many things going on that other people don't. So it's just like when she walks in the room, you know, she lights it up without trying. Whatever she does in front of the camera or behind the camera, it's without trying hard. It's just what she does. So, you know, I just want to change like the whole idea of what a diva is and make her just, you know, someone who's just powerful and strong.
Yeah, I love that, right? And I think it's interesting, you know, as somebody who has a musical background that you do, and, you know, as a lyricist, a double entendres and all those other things like that too, right? And being able to flip the script of a word and like can have it mean something completely different. I love that. I want to dive right now, if we can, into the music aspect, right? Keldamuzik. And what is your musical background, your story? When did you realize music wasn't just something, hey, I want to do this? Like, no, it's a passion that you were kind of called to do it.
Yeah, it started when I was like around 15 or 16. I think, you know, it was during the era like when Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all them were out. And so I'm just like, okay, I need to get in there because just pop stars were just coming up everywhere. And I remember I flew to Columbia Records, auditioned for a girl group, didn't get it. So came back to San Jose, the Bay Area here in California, started my own pop group called Astra. It was me and two other girls. I was pretty much doing everything, you know, managing us, finding the producers, writing all of our songs, arranging all of our meetings. And after a while, I just said, you know what, I just can't, you know, help other people. And, you know, I'm doing all this work and now we're supposed to, you know, split the opportunity amongst us three. I'm like, no, you know, I'm going to be a solo artist. So I kept writing, kept working with different producers, as well as, you know, going to different studios. My mom would, you know, drive me to Oakland and we'd work with some of the producers out this way. And then it wasn't until 2005 professionally when I moved from San Jose to Oakland. I always like to say Kelda Williams was born in San Jose, but Keldamuzik is born in Oakland. And that's when I, you know, signed my first independent record or music deal, released my first album called Shut Up Listen, and the rest is history from there.
No, I love it. I love it. And I think understanding that anything that you want to like move into, like you're going to have those bumps and bruises, the roller coaster ride, so to speak. I love the fact that, you know, hey, you're identified in a way that, not to say that and I'm not going to speak ill will of your former, you know, group mates, so to speak, but hey, so everyone's got to pull their weight. And if you're going to be pulling the weight, you might as well be doing it for you, right? I feel that 1,000% in more ways than one. Having being signed, right, and having some success within this space, you've toured internationally, and how do you feel like your music has traveled when it comes to the international crowd? And I hear, because a lot of people say, like, I'm very big in like the dancehall scene, and so dancehall, like, you know, obviously big in Jamaica, but I talk to us sometimes like, yo, I'm good in Jamaica, but bro, when I go over to Amsterdam, when I go over to Germany, like it's a different level. Talk to me a little bit about like that for you, like, you know, what is the international scene and trying to win over those crowds?
Yeah, definitely. Going to Tokyo, you know, no one knew who I was. A promoter reached out to me and booked me to open up for R&B singer Lloyd of Murder Inc. And mind you, this is the time when, you know, Nicki Minaj first came out and she was hot. So really every promoter, every event planner was always looking to add a female rapper onto the lineup, right? And to, you know, to capture all the females, to get them to buy tickets to come. And so when I performed in Tokyo, no one knew who I was, but they were just in love with me. You know, when I was on stage by myself, the DJ was there. I had one hype guy who was helping me out, but the fans they were just in love with me because I was up there doing it. You know what I mean? It was like they just fall in love with you because this is what you say you do. And I remember afterwards, the security brought me off stage into the crowd, and I just started passing out CDs to everyone, and they started hugging me, and I feel like a true celebrity out there, you know what I mean? And it's still on YouTube. All the footage is on YouTube. I called it Fan Love in Tokyo, Japan. But really, like in other markets, it really seems like people adapt to new artists and newer music compared to out here in the US, you know. I don't know what it is, but you know, people kind of become judgmental out here, and it's always about your track record, your sales, your streams, who you've collaborated with, what label did you come from, what man is behind you. Whereas, you know, Tokyo or even the Caribbean, there was no judgment on that end. It was just more like, we like you, you know, we like you for you and what you're doing right now. So, yeah, in other markets, they're just like quick to really become a fan.
Kelda, I feel that spoke to my spirit right there, you know, and I hear you honestly and truly, and you know, I think it's awesome that you've been able to get that success and the kudos that you deserve, like in those international spaces, but you're still doing the damn thing here as well too, you know, on U.S. soil, so to speak. You've also had some of your work land in film and TV. Do you remember the first time like a song or like that was like selected, you know, for the entertainment space and that, and kind of like, what was the call? What was the feeling? Like, did you go and watch it and record it 100? You know what I mean? Like, what was that vibe?
Yeah. Yep. It was, I believe 2008, one of my songs got placed on the film called Please Give, which was, you know, released by Sony Entertainment, starring Amanda Peet. And I remember just receiving the notification from my publisher at the time, hey, we got you a placement. And we were talking numbers and stuff. I was like, oh, shoot, this is the real deal. Whoa, publishing does pay a lot of money. Like, wow. And so I remember at the time, my business partner and I, we went to San Francisco to the IMAX theater to actually watch it. And we, you know, the whole time we had, you know, the camera phone just waiting to film it because we're like, okay, we didn't know exactly what part. So we were just waiting like, okay, not yet, not yet. We heard it. And we like quickly recorded it. And then we stayed after. And I remember everyone was like getting up, walking out of the theater, and they're just like looking at us like, you know, why are you still here? It's the credits rolling. And I'm like, not saying anything. I'm like, because I'm waiting to see my credits come down the screen.
Word.
It's a Keldamuzik. It said music department, Keldamuzik. I said, yes.
Let's go.
Took a picture of it, posted it on social, and it was a memorable moment.
It sounds like it, man. Like you're living it right now. I'm with you right now. I feel like I'm in that movie theater with you, and how I would be, you know, for one of my friends or anybody like that having that level of success. Like that is super, super, super dope. So you talked to me a little bit earlier about, hey, you were from the, if you will, the the Britney era, so to speak, right? But you
Yeah.
also are a rapper as well too. So is there a genre of music that you feel that you are best fit and best suited at? Like if you had to choose one and one lane to operate in musically, which one would it be?
Yeah, so like when I was younger starting out, it was like, pop, right? Because I felt like, okay, this is my way in.
Yeah.
But when I professionally came in the game, just straight up hip hop, rap. And for me, hip hop is a better way where I could express myself as a writer, as a producer, as just a creator, as an artist, just someone who could really just put something together, make it sound cool, and get the right beats, get the right artists to collaborate with you. And it's just like you're making your own kind of magic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like with pop and R&B, there's a structure you have to follow, but hip hop is just, it's so free. You can spit like 24 to 32 bars in one song, and you don't need to put a hook, right? It's just people are listening to the track because they're listening to what you're saying. Whereas maybe, with pop and R&B, there has to be a structure, right? You have your first verse, then you have a hook, then you have another verse, then you have a bridge, right? So everything's kind of just like formatted in its own, in an industry standard way.
Yeah.
So that's why, yeah, hip hop has always been my forte. It's what I came out with. It's what established me. It's what got me booked overseas, music placements, got me to see the world, and really just put me inside the TV screen.
I hear that. I do. And so I'm going to follow up with this one question because at some point, we're not really in that era right now, thankfully, honestly. But do
Mhm.
you consider yourself a West Coast rapper or just a hip hop artist? Period.
Just a hip hop artist, period. Um, when I released my first couple albums, years ago, it was about, okay, represent represent yourself as a female rapper from the West Coast, right?
Mhm.
So, producing beats that kind of have just that West Coast LA type of feel, right? Or even Bay Area. But, I've always wanted to be a global artist. I always wanted to have a global reach. I always wanted to be mainstream if I could, and be able to just reach,
Yeah.
everyone. And that's why I call myself Keldamuzik, because even though, hip hop is the foundation, I do incorporate other type of, not necessarily genres in my music, but just different sounds that might come from other genres. Like we were just saying, Afro beats, Afro tech, house, dance, all that other stuff, EDM. So I feel that's very important to do nowadays. So now, yeah, I'm really just a global artist, global entertainer, global multi-hyphenate artist.
Yeah, no, you're doing the damn thing. Last question before we go to a quick break. As a artist and as a rapper, so to speak. So, who are musical influences on the rap side? From your lens, and maybe who are some of your favorite artists today?
Yeah, music wise, um, I would definitely say artists like the Brat,
Mm.
Trina, Eve, Lil Kim, Foxy Brown, and then lyrically and just skill wise, I still think Nicki Minaj, hands down, is the best female rapper. Just hands down. Just skill wise, when we're just talking about just rapping, she's
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? I think she has it. And that's why she could play around with her music a lot, and do all the funny voices and personalities, because she's really just showing you how extensive her talent is, that she's able to do stuff like that. So it sucks what she's doing now, right now,
Got some other
in the
things
world.
happening. She's got some other
Yeah,
things
she got
happening.
some things happening, but I'll always respect her skill as a rap artist.
Yeah. I feel like I'd be disingenuous if I didn't at least ask the question. And the aspect of like industry plans and like someone like Doechii who's at her right now, she's doing her thing or whatever. Any thoughts on not I don't think she's industry plan, but any thoughts on like on
Mhm.
her style and how she's kind of like commanding some of the female rap space right now.
Yeah, I love Doechii. She's amazing. She's very creative. She is you can tell she was born to do this. You know what I mean? The fact that she performs live and on stage, her breath control is ridiculous, right? Like she does not stop. And then lyrically, she knows how to make music, right?
Yeah.
She knows how to make global music again, that's reaching massive amounts of people worldwide. She definitely has international star quality as well. So I definitely could see someone like her having longevity in her career.
Yeah. Well, we're chatting with the amazing Keldamuzik here on Dope Interviews. Let's take a quick break, y'all, and we'll talk about some of the other hyphenates, within her brand on the other side of this break here. We'll be right back here in Dope Interviews.
You've earned this. Now it's time to embark on your own personal adventure. Book your vacation with exquisite travel and tours today. Explore the world and discover yourself.
And we're back here in Dope Interviews chatting with my new friend, Keldamuzik. Kelda, make sure you follow her at Keldamuzik, and that's Muzik on the back end for that music. You hear what I'm saying? So, as we talked a little bit about the music industry, your space into that, but you are so many different things, right? And you've gone into entrepreneurship. And so, appropriately so, as we're talking, you have a beret on, right? And you have a brand, I believe it's called
Yes.
Tams or whatever. Talk to me a little bit about that. Why berets? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
an interesting niche for a product. And obviously it's working for you, but just curious as to how you figured out that was going to be your thing.
Yeah, so it was during the pandemic. I've always wanted to come out with some type of merchandise. We could all do T-shirts and stuff like that, but I wanted to come out with something that was meaningful and that would leave people with something with substance. Something that's fulfilling. And I felt like berets did that trick because berets weren't popular in pop culture, the Black community, or even hip hop culture. So for me, it was something that was missing, and we put a spin on it and called it Tams, and created different colors and made it like a fashion statement, right? It's not to cover up anything; it's just to enhance your looks. And how it started was during the pandemic. I remember my mom, she was like, well, I don't want you to catch COVID again. It's really cold outside. And she just started sending me berets. And so I said, hey, and I started getting lots of compliments on it, right? Like people coming up to me, I love your hat. I love your beret because I'm coordinating it with what I'm wearing.
All right.
And I just said, you know what? I need to come out with my own line of berets. And sure enough, it hit, and people started partnering with me here in the Bay Area, and we started producing fashion shows. And I would sell more berets, and those people who would purchase my berets, I would book them to actually walk during my fashion shows. And these are people who are not models; they're not in the entertainment industry, but they get a chance to feel like a model for that moment, regardless of their age, size, background, anything. And it was really just me saying thank you for supporting
Wow.
the TAMS movement. And I've also partnered with a few hair loss organizations. One was called Boldly Me. Their cause is for alopecia, women that have alopecia. And then another one was called Hair to Stay, which they were an organization that would fundraise money for cancer patients that wanted to purchase a cooling to stimulate their hair to grow back. So
Wow.
Tams is just more than just a hat. It serves like a multi-purpose for a lot of things.
No, I mean that's a great explanation, and I appreciate you sharing that. If you don't mind me asking, so why Tams? Like I miss it's like I just don't know. I'm not trying to be just why is it called
Yeah.
Tams?
Yeah. So originally was Tinks, but that's another story why that didn't work out. So Tams, back in the day, that's what they used to call the berets, like for a slang, Tams. And for the women, berets. And then I think for the men, it was called something else. I don't know what it's called. So it was originally spelled Tams. That's a slang word for Tams back in the 70s or 80s.
Got it.
And I just switched the S out and put a Z and called it Tams.
Let's go. Give it a little flavor. I am mad at that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
is this a unisex brand?
It is a unisex brand. It started off with just females because I just, wanted to cater to them first. You know what I mean? All my female fans, and then guys wanted to start wearing it too. And once like guys who were like, oh, well, I like the black, I like the brown. I was like, okay, great. Hop on the runway and make sure you take pictures and tag yourself, tag Tams or whatever. So it's now unisex.
Uh, what is one of the, I don't know if you ever watched Shark Tank, so I have like a lot of like kind of
Yes,
like
I
behind the
love
business
Shark Tank.
questions. So what does it cost you to make? What has it landed, et cetera? So I'm not going to get into all of that. But do you manufacture here in the United States or are you manufacturing overseas?
Overseas, actually, in China. It's cheaper and the quality is still there. Obviously I'm able to purchase as many as I want without, breaking the bank.
Nah.
And
So
yeah.
is there, I'd ask, and this is maybe a two-part question, both maybe musically and or from the, wearing the beret, is there a collaborative or a collaborator that you'd love to have kind of like to work with musically and then maybe to rock in, one of these Tams berets as well too?
Yeah. I definitely would love to see Rihanna
Let's
in one of
go.
these berets
Ooh.
because
She would kill it. She would kill
she
it.
would kill it mixed with the Fenty.
Ooh.
Woo, she would kill it. I love
You-
Rihanna.
Nah, you got the right business mindset there. That is a coup de grace pick, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's move a little bit now into, the media side of what you do. Again, so many facets, right? So you talked a little bit about why the word diva specifically, but what's the mission of your show, Diva Talk? Like, what are you looking for listeners, viewers, and essence to kind of get away from that when you produce that?
Yeah, so Diva Talk tonight is streaming on Tubi, as well as a few other platforms, and we have more coming soon. But I came up with Diva Talk. It stemmed from my reality show called Diva TV, which was a series that I created as a promotional vehicle for my career. And then later I said, you know what, I like interviewing people. Let's make this an official talk show.
Yeah.
So I started, I worked with several production companies and worked in several different studios, and it was just all about bringing on guests with different backgrounds, primarily in the entertainment industry, but if they do other things, that's fine too. And it was supposed to be like a late night, well, it is kind of like a late night talk show, right? And we add skits in it sometimes we don't. I actually kind of got the idea a little bit from Chelsea Lately when she was on E, and how she just had like a group of her friends sit with her, and they talk about all types of topics, and then they do a skit or two, and I'm like, oh, I could be a little black Chelsea Lately, I mean, in the Bay Area. um but then it just expanded, to where, okay, we have the diva dive, right? So we have, like 4 or 5 pretty girls sitting at the table, and they're kind of like my co-hosts, right? I'm like bantering with them during the show, and then boom, on the right side of me we have the guest who's on the show, and we just came up with different little scenarios to really highlight certain parts of the show that made it different compared to other late night talk shows. So and Diva's my brand. Everything that I do is pretty much Diva. The Diva Outreach, which is my nonprofit. All my albums are named Diva. Again, it's just building the whole Diva foundation, the whole Diva movement.
And you've done so expertly, right? I'm just curious, right? I think it's interesting for me, like from the lens of watching Tubi's even growth, from what it was initially considered to like kind of like what it is now, and it just has so much viability now, and like you've been able to land a show there, like that's fire, like that's amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about that process, like the pitch to them and saying, hey, you know what, we want to have this, appear with on this channel.
Yeah, I have a marketing team that helps me with everything, and we were just shooting our shot at all these networks, and out of all of them, there was about 5 of them, and Tubi was one of them. Tubi was the biggest, obviously, and they said, "Hey, we would love to place you on our platform." And I have about 12 episodes on there, very professionally done. Diva Talk actually has about 56 episodes. 56 episodes. The rest are on YouTube, but the professional quality ones are on Tubi. So, and shout out to Tubi for keeping it on there, and it's just crazy. Like it's a whole new fan base because, these are people who are, streamers for content and not really, music content, but visual content.
Yeah.
So it's just really expanding my fan base and introducing people to another side of who I am.
Yeah, congratulations. And that really is kick ass. And I want to see good people winning, and it's very nice to see that. And even just as important to see Black women winning. So I'm
Thank
really excited, you for that, for sure, for sure.
thank you.
Before we kind of get into some funner things, whatever, like I'm always concerned about the mental health aspect. So, excuse me
Yes.
for like the record scratch, kind of transition here, right?
Mhm.
But being as busy as you are, being as stretched into so many different lanes, Kelda, that's it's not only the time, but it's the types of people. And this industry is not always very sweet, not always very
Right.
kind.
Mhm.
And so you're running into all different types of people with all types of agendas.
Mhm.
And, I can only imagine some of the things that you might have had to experience, on your climb and continuing to ride and then giving you the confidence to even go into the next lane, even if you got treated poorly in another one.
Yeah.
How is your mental health, I think, when it comes to managing and navigating that and finding the strength to kind of keep going in what you are doing and even trying the next thing?
Yeah. In this business, even if you're established, you still face a lot of no's, right? You still, regardless how deep your track record is and what you've experienced, there's still going to be a lot of people. Hey, I don't think you're a fit for our magazine or our media platform, or I don't think you're a fit for this role, or this song doesn't really fit our category. You know what I mean? You're always going to receive a lot of no's, and when you do, you have to learn how to take rejection, right? And there's so many ways that it could be said, but you have to look at rejection obviously as something that's going to make you stronger and know what you could do better. Or if you are facing rejection, there's always another door that will open for you. But there's been several times, and until this day it does happen, like, hey, your film's not good enough to be in here, or your song's not really what we're looking for. And always had my hopes up high for certain things that came off promising, and then got let down in the end. So, and it really does mess with your mental. But once you kind of been through it all and experienced it and seen others, you just you get used to it, right? And you just really have to tell yourself to keep going, and that this is just something that will pass and something else will come up. So, or else, if you dwell on it, it could really eat you up inside. And I
Sure.
don't think it's worth it, just based on this business, the reputation of this business, and all the things that do go on behind doors. You can't really let anything bother you.
No, I hear that. Are you in a space where, yeah, you're making time not only for yourself but for family and loved ones, in essence, to be that support system, right? To be that village for you as well, too.
Yeah, almost definitely. I'm always, talking to my parents, even it's through text. I think that's probably like the most where we communicate, because, we're all busy. But that's the way I'm staying in touch with them, and I'm glad, having, parents in their late 60s that, hey, they're able to work text and they know what technology is, you know what I mean? But that's the way we keep in touch. And I try to keep in touch with other family members as well, just even distant relatives. And sometimes I take time to, go drive out to see family, as well as fly to places to see family, because, like they say, sometimes you just need, a head change, and you need like family support or people close to you that you've grown up with that are there for you.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So I started this interview, with asking you to define who you are now. I'm going to close
Mhm.
it with, who do you want to be, right? What are you working on next? 5 years from now, 6 years from now, whatever it is, like who will
Mhm.
Music be in the future?
Kelda Music will continue to thrive in, within the entertainment industry, expanding in more areas, from film producing, film writing, creating more fashionable items, producing more fashion shows,
Let's go.
producing other artists as well, managing other artists, working with bigger artists, established artists, and really just really enhancing everything that I have going now, but just on a bigger level, on bigger platforms with bigger partnerships.
I had no doubt I would not bet against you. You know, I'm in the Keldamuzik business. I'm rocking with you, and I'm truly excited for what you have next. We wish you nothing but continued success in all things, and you truly are doing all things.
Thank you.
She is Keldamuzik. I am Warren Shaw. You can follow me at dope_interviews or the Warren Shaw on Instagram. And be sure to be rocking with Kelda at Keldamuzik. Again, that's MUZIK on the back end of that Muzak. You know what it is, y'all. It's been another dope interviews with my girl, my new friend, Keldamuzik, y'all. And we're out.
Together we stand, divided we never. The vision is one, striving for the better. Working as a team, working toward a dream. It's not even work when the team is the dream. On a united front, we got our own back. A band of brothers to counteract any attack. One heart in fact, forget what the blood say. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. So let's do it for the love, give to the max. Listen to opinion, but react to facts. And remember that together with a but separate, just pieces of it. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA.
Family represent like a tree with names on it. We're free, no chains on it. Relieved, the pain's gone, I can see. We come together like questions on the quiz. Mojo Flow and Viz, man, you know what it is. And if ignorance is bliss, you're gonna hate this lesson. Organized intellect like a tropical depression. My symbol is the cross, a mic and ghost peppers. Cause I'm just a black sheep growing up to be a shepherd. Moonlighting as a weapon to protect the children. Every brother is a father, dynasties we're building. Max, J and K, Bay, and Isaiah, next level of the family foundation. Understand me?